Is anybody on yet? I apologize for the background noise. I'm in a hotel, and apparently I'm right beside the highway, so hopefully it's not too distracting. So who's on? Let me know. And let me know what you think about Ed Orgeron. Did you? I think we all saw it coming, but did you think it would happen this way? Apparently, Ed Orgeron and LSU decided to mutually part ways at the end of the season, and apparently it's been going on. They've known it for a while now. They just decided to make it official, and apparently there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that a lot of people didn't know about. Um, a lot of sexual allegations and things like that. I'm not even going to try to get into what actually happened, but it's all over the internet. You can look it up. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, and then get everybody's thoughts on it, and then see what do you guys think uh, about who his potential replacements would be. Who are the top candidates? Mel Tucker. Kevin Hager says Mel Tucker, LSU next coach. I heard today for the first time his name come up, Kevin. Uh, that'd be an interesting choice. I don't know a whole lot about Mel Tucker. Does he have any ties to LSU at all? Has he coached there before? Did he play there? Do you know? I didn't miss something that has already been announced. I hope. I've been at a I've been at a business dinner, so I haven't had the news on much today. He coached. Kevin Hager says Mel Tucker. Talking about Mel Tucker here, says he coached defense at Georgia, so he has SEC background. Okay. When did he leave? Did he leave Georgia to take the Michigan State job, Kevin? He did. Okay. Well, you guys don't seem to miss him too much, man. That defensive coordinator you got right now is apparently really good. Golding, I think's his name. Some of the names I've heard floating around are Luke Fickell, of course, Matt Campbell, Jimbo Fisher, which I don't see happening. I can talk about that later, but there's a couple more. But those seem Matt Campbell, Luke Fickell, Mel Tucker, Jimbo, and Billy Napier from Louisiana has come up a lot as well. I just realized I didn't tell people that it was 9 p.m. Eastern time. I have a lot of viewers in the Central Time Zone. I don't see Jimbo leaving Texas A&M. Kevin, I don't either. I actually know a guy who's a personal friend of Jimbo Fisher, and he says that Jimbo seems really happy at Texas A&M. He likes it there. They're paying him well. He's got a farm now he's living on, I think. So I think he's pretty happy there, from what I understand. So I don't, but money talks. But I mean, I think he's up to $7.5 million a year now, with $100,000 a year raise every year, I think, plus incentives. And his buyout is remarkable. He can actually leave for another job and not have to pay a dime. I've never heard of that. David Valentine says Skip Holtz. I hadn't heard that name, David. Interesting. I haven't heard Skip Holtz's name come up in quite a while, actually. I don't even know where Skip Holtz is coaching at now. Kevin, I don't know if you probably know this about Jimbo. He's originally he's from West Virginia, the Clarksburg area, I think. He went to college at Salem College. He's good buddies with Terry Bowden. I think that's how he got the job. I think that's how he got into coaching, was through the Bowdens, and just kind of went up through the ranks and ended up with Saban, and the rest is history. And then, of course, with Bobby. Skip Holtz, David Valentine. Where is Skip Holtz coaching at right now? Do you know? Like I said, I hadn't heard his name in quite some time. Louisiana Tech. Okay. I think you're right. I don't know about Skip Holtz. I think they'd my personal opinion, that would be a mistake. But I'm not an LSU fan, so it doesn't really matter to me. But he did do a good job at ECU when he was there. He was actually a candidate for the WVU job at one time when I think when Rich Rodder left. I think Skip Holtz was one of the few people that were a big candidate before they hired Bill Stewart. Kevin Hager says, I didn't know he was from West Virginia. That's cool. Seems to be a lot of coaches from this state. Yeah, there is. Lou Holtz was actually born in West Virginia. He moved to Ohio when he was a kid, but he still has West Virginia connections and roots. Jimbo, Nick Saban, obviously Rich Rod. There's several others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I mean, heck, a lot of the guys. I mean, Pat White's coaching now. Clint Trickett, Rick Trickett, which the Tricketts aren't from West Virginia, but the kids grew up here. Yeah, there's a lot of the Bowdens have ties here because of Bobby's days here. So there's a lot of coaches with either from West Virginia or have ties to West Virginia. Yeah, Jimbo's a West Virginia guy, man, and we almost there was a word on the street is he actually almost came back to it. He almost coached at West Virginia not long ago, but didn't work out. I don't think they were willing to pay him what he wanted. David Valentine, the DC from Clemson will be a good choice. Venables, yeah, he's been mentioned for a lot of jobs. Brent Venables, I think is his name. He's been mentioned for a lot of jobs over the years, but he seems to be pretty happy at Clemson from what I can tell. I don't know, but I look for him to eventually get a job somewhere. This might be this might be the one he wants. It's a very prestigious job. I mean, like I heard one analyst say today, it almost recruits itself, LSU does. So you probably don't have to be a super great recruiter to coach there or to recruit there rather. But who knows? Billy Napier seems to be a name that I keep hearing the most. The three names I've heard the most are Napier, Fickle, and Matt Campbell. Jimbo's been here. If most people seem to think Jimbo don't want to, most people seem to think Jimbo's not an option, or at least not a great option, which I agree. I think he's pretty content where he's at. It's a lateral move for him, really. Don't see what he has to gain from it, especially if he's happy where he's at, which all indications are he is. I mean, heck, he's making $7.5, $8 million a year, has a farm. He's in Texas where he can recruit the best high school players in the country. Still got the SEC. I mean, what else I don't know what else he would need. I apologize for the background. If there's any background noise, I'm at a hotel and I'm right beside the highway. Unfortunately, my room is, so really hard to avoid it. I wanted to share this on Facebook, and I'm not sure I know how. Crypt Keeper, thanks for coming in, Crypt Keeper. Why are you not watching the Bills game? I actually am. I got it on beside me. I just don't have I got it muted, man. They're losing 7-6 right now. Fickle's not leaving Ohio. I agree. I don't think Fickle's going to leave either. Everything I've heard about Luke Fickle is that he's a really devout Catholic, and there's a lot of Catholic schools in Cincinnati, and his kids are in a Catholic school right now. He has 6 kids too, by the way. They're in a Catholic school in Cincinnati. They seem to be very happy there. Cincinnati has a very strong Catholic culture, apparently, and he's only left the state of Ohio one time in his entire career, and it was only for like a year. And then they end up coming back with the Cincinnati job. So, and word on the street is he's actually turned down multiple Power 5 jobs already, including West Virginia. So, which I think Crypt Keeper, I've already discussed that some. Kevin, whoever comes in, they will be expected to win right off the bat. That is true. That's why I think they can't get this wrong. They need to hire somebody that already has head coaching experience. K-Dog, what's up, K-Dog? Thanks for joining us. Dan Lanning should be a candidate. K-Dog, would you please, I know this is probably a stupid question since I'm a college football fan, but who's Dan Lanning if he wants to leave Georgia? Is he the defensive coordinator? I don't know why. I had thought his last name was Golding for some reason. Maybe I just had his name wrong. David Valentine says, I think LSU was making a mistake by not letting Ed O go. He just won a championship a couple years ago. You mean by letting him go? Muschamp. Bill Bulldog JC says Muschamp. Yeah, I don't see that one happening. Kevin, I hope Lanning stays at UGA. Yeah, I apologize, guys. I had his name wrong earlier. He's the D coordinator. Earlier I called him Golding. I don't know why I had his name was Golding, but anyway. K-Dog, Georgia defense. Okay, yeah, that's it. I just, for some reason, I thought his last name was Golding. I had that all screwed up. But yeah, I know who you're talking about. I did hear his name come up today too on another podcast I was listening to. He seems to be a strong candidate. Well, I don't know about a strong candidate, but he's being talked about on YouTube and podcasts and stuff like that. Wouldn't call him a candidate necessarily. Bama coordinator, that's right. Okay. I hear these names, guys, and I can tell you just about every one of West Virginia's coaches, but when it gets outside of that, sometimes I forget. Ford Raiden, don't go to LSU now. Let them be bad for a while, then go there. Ford Raiden, why would you say that? I mean, that's an interesting take. I'd be interested to know why you think that. Bulldog JC, they could get Veranda maybe. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing earlier. But Aranda, where he's just now getting started at Baylor, man. I don't know that he would want to leave after just a year or 2 years, I guess now. And I don't know that LSU is going to want a guy who only has 2 years of coaching experience. I think they're going to go after somebody that's been in the game a while, that has a lot of experience under their belt, more of a veteran coach. Now, if it's that it happened 2 or 3 years from now, I think they might have been one of their top targets. K-Dog, lifetime contract for Mullen and Grantham, hopefully at Florida. I hear you. I got a feeling Dan Mullen's on thin ice, man. He's they're crapping the bed lately. Lord Raiden, if you go with unrealistic expectations and don't meet them, you're gone. Yes, sir, I agree. They have high expectations at LSU. I see what you're saying. You said they should wait until the expectations are a little bit lower, then go. So that makes sense. So you don't have as much pressure on you. Well, I've thought the same thing, Lord Raiden, but I heard a guy today talking that said, these coaches most of them are huge competitors. They have big competitive natures about them, and they want to go win. They look at it as a challenge, and they want to compete with the best. They want to compete with the Sabans of the world and the Jimbos and whoever else. The Kirby's now. He's becoming one of those. Those guys want to go and beat them. I actually even heard Lane Kiffin come up a lot too, or not a lot, but from a couple people. There's actually an LSU member. I was a beat writer I was listening to earlier this morning who wants Lane Kiffin as their coach. He said he thinks Kiffin would be a great coach. He wants Kiffin as the coach and Lanning as the defensive coordinator. But I don't see Lanning leaving Georgia to go to LSU. I mean, that'd be a lateral move. Bills are up 13-7. K-Dog, do you think Georgia will finally beat Bama this year? I think they will, K-Dog. The only thing that concerns me about Georgia is their offense. I mean, they're scoring points, but their offense doesn't look explosive. So I'm not sure. They if their offense gets better, then I say absolutely. If their offense doesn't get better, then I think it'll still be a tough one. But I do think they're better than Bama right now. Yes. If they play in the SEC, yeah, I do. I expect Georgia to finally make that happen this year. We need JT back. Yeah, what? Uh, from what I can tell, the backup Stetson Bennett, he doesn't look like a bad quarterback, but I can tell he's not as skilled as JT. Crypt Keeper, how about the coach from Ole Miss? That guy loves to chase money. Yeah, Kiffin. Yeah, his name's been brought up. Cristobal. Yeah, I've heard of Cristobal's name's been brought up a couple times, but I don't. Well, Cristobal's got it made there in Oregon. I think I don't see him leaving the West Coast to come all the way to LSU unless they throw a lot of money at him. Lord Raiden Bama hasn't been impressive at all. Not the typical Bama. I mean, they're still a good football team, but they're not as good as they've been in previous years. They're definitely vulnerable this year. Florida proved that. Only thing good about Stetson is he can run when needed. Yeah, I've noticed he can move his feet. But it's a pretty good, cool story though. The fact that I think he was a walk on, if I'm not mistaken, right? Lord Raiden says, why would Cristobal or Franklin or any of those guys leave where they are to go to LSU? That's just crazy talk. Franklin's another one that's been brought. I forgot about him. James, he comes up for every job. I look. Here's my expect. Here's what I think is going to happen. This is just my opinion. I think Franklin will leave Penn State to go to USC, and I think somebody like Billy Napier or maybe Matt Campbell will end up with the LSU job. That's just pure speculation, but LSU is one of the highest paying jobs in the country, if I'm not mistaken, Lord Ray. So that could be one reason, and it's the SEC. They have those SEC jobs are very attractive to a lot of these coaches, man. They think it's easier to win national championships, and they're probably right. I don't know about easier, but you got a better shot at getting in. I think if you can win in the SEC, you're going to get in the. If you win the SEC, you're going to get in the playoff. Basically, it's not guaranteed in any other conference. If Cristobal wants more money, Oregon can pay whatever. Yeah, probably so. Probably so. I think a lot of agents are going to use this as leverage to get their guys more money anyway. That's probably why all these names keep floating out there. A lot of these names are being floated out there by agents just to get their guys more money. Mel Tucker, Bulldog. Yeah, somebody earlier on the chat, Kevin mentioned that. That's what he seems. He thinks the same thing, and I heard his name mentioned a couple times as well. He's a good coach. It seems to be. Walk on. This was talking about Stetson Bennett here. Walk on transferred out to junior college, then came back and was going to transfer again, but Kirby talked him into staying this year. Probably a good thing they did. Because they could, I mean, even though he's not as good as JT, he's been able to keep things going while he's hurt. If you win the Big Ten 14 years, yeah, that's probably true too. But probably true. Yeah, those are the two conferences that you're pretty much guaranteed a spot if you win them. As long as, obviously depending on how many losses you get, but most of the time, you win the SEC or the Big Ten, you're getting in. And you guys, if you guys got anything else you want to talk about college football related, I had to put something as my title, but of course that was the main topic I wanted to talk about. But anything college football related, guys, feel free to put it in the chat. Bulldog JC, think Cincinnati has a good chance of getting in? I absolutely do. As long as they win out, they got to win out though. If they slip up at all, I don't think they're getting in because their schedule's just not hard enough. But mad props to them though, man. They look really good. Look really good. UCF. I didn't know they would beat UCF as bad as they did. which UCF's got a lot of injuries and stuff too, but still, and a first-year coach. But I never envisioned Cincinnati beating them that soundly. I'd kind of like to see it, man. I like Luke Fickell, and I like to see a team like Cincinnati get in. And as a West Virginia fan, I think it'd be great for the future of the Big 12 too to have one of our future members in. Lord Reagan says the only problem is they beat Notre Dame. Okay, Notre Dame sucks ass. And Notre Dame, I won't say they suck, but they're not great. They haven't looked all that impressive. Look at their wins. Agree they'd have to win out, which I think they will. Yeah, I do too, JC. Yeah, but Lord Reagan, one thing they're winning, but they're blowing everybody out, man. Uh, they've not really had. I think they've only had one game that was somewhat close, other than Notre Dame, and the rest of them they've been beating people by 30, 20, and 30 and 40 points. So I think that counts for something. Style points, if you want to call it that. Eye test. Everybody's got a different word for it, but which Coastal Carolina's been doing the same thing, but Coastal Carolina's schedule is even weaker than Cincinnati's. That's why I haven't been putting them in my weekly poll, just because my weekly top 12, just because their schedule's so weak. But they're another one that I'd like to see play against better competition. Crypt Keeper said, "You think you guys are going to get a new coach in West Virginia? I heard the fan base is up in arms." No, I don't think so. Some of our fan base is Crypt Keeper, but not. I don't think it's the majority. I think it's probably split down the middle, or at least 60-40 to the side. We want to keep him. We have the best recruiting class in school history potentially coming next year, man. So we can't throw that away. The guy's a great recruiter. He might be the best recruiter we've ever had. So if we got to give him a chance, he's still playing with 70 to 80% of Dana Holgerson's recruits right now. So we got to give him time to get his guys in. And I think once he's able to do that, I think it'll be a different story. Kevin Hager says Gunnar Stockton is going to be good. Not much of a Beck fan. Would like to see Brock get a little more playing time. Is he a Gunnar Stockton? Is he a QB you guys got coming in next year, Kevin? K Dog, we will see what the playoff committee will do. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Hey, Huffer Billy, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in, Lord Raiden. It's something, but when Notre Dame is your quality win, that's not exactly so. I know what you mean, Lord Raiden. That's why I think they can't lose one. That's why I said they have to win out. Now, if there's a couple other teams, if there's some Power 5 teams that are undefeated, that might keep them out. That's the thing. That's why they have some other teams can get in with a loss. They can't. I'm not hating, just pointing out the flaws. No, Lord Raiden, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Their schedule definitely isn't as tough as most other teams in the race right now. But I mean, heck, you look at they even played. They played Georgia in a bowl game last year and only lost by like 3 points. So I think they've proven they can play with the big boys. I'm with you, Kevin, from another Kevin. That's cool. For Billy, can W take Tony Elliott, please? No, we're good, man. We're good. Oh gosh, I don't know though, man. Our offense is struggling right now. We might could use something. I don't. But Clemson's don't look any better. Oh, not really. We just need a quarterback and an offensive line, man. Yeah, from South Carolina. Okay, that's what I thought. We got a good WVU's got a good QB coming in next year too. Probably not as I'm sure your guy's probably a 5-star. Ours isn't a 5-star, but he's a 4, which is high for us. Raven County, Georgia. It is Georgia, not South Carolina. I was on phone at work. It's cool, Kevin. No worries, man. Cincinnati has did the only thing they can do so far. I know who have they played, but as long as they keep beating their opponents convincingly. That's all they can do. I agree, Bulldog, man. Strength of schedule doesn't matter, though, at the end of the day, especially if it comes down to a scenario where you got 5 or 6 teams. It might keep them out, but I don't. I think there's going to be other teams lose games. I think as long as they go undefeated, they'll get in. SEC champ is in, Big Ten champ is in, probably Oklahoma is in, even though they were bad. The question is who will be number 4. I don't think Oklahoma's as bad anymore now that they got Caleb Williams at quarterback, Lord Raiden. I'll be honest with you. We'll see. I do expect them. I don't expect them to go undefeated, though. I do think Oklahoma will slip up eventually, whether it's against Oklahoma State, Iowa State, somebody. But for Billy says go from neutral to reverse with Elliott. I hear you, man. West Virginia's offense has got 2 speeds, slow and stop. Or reverse. I should say stop and reverse. Is the Manning kid going to West Virginia? I heard Pat McAfee say it on the show, but don't know if he was. Oh, no, he was Crip Caper. That was Peyton Manning was basically trolling Pat McAfee and said, hey, man, he's going to West Virginia. He's already committed. He was just – it was all a joke, man. Some people on social media ran with it. But if you saw it happen, you knew it was a joke because they were laughing about it. We have no chance of landing on Arch Manning. Peyton was trolling McAfee. Yep, he was. However, Billy says Cincy is in. I think so, too, as long as they win out. I think the fact that they're getting a number 2 ranking right now shows the respect they have. Bulldog strength of schedule doesn't matter, but Cincinnati will deserve to be in. Arch will probably go to Ole Miss. I heard the other day, and I don't know how reliable the source was, K-Dog, but I heard the other day that his last 2 choices, he was down to Texas and Georgia, actually, for his top 2 choices right now. So I don't know. Ole Miss isn't out of it by any means, but I don't think they're the front runner at this point. I think Georgia, and they said he really likes the city of Austin. So that might persuade him to go to Texas. I really hope not. But, you never know. Lord Raid says Oklahoma is still bad. Well, bad in the big picture. Like usually win out there and then get smashed. You're right. But they get there, who will be the 4th team in? I think it'll be Cincinnati. Or if not Cincinnati, it'll be either a second SEC team, maybe Alabama or Georgia. One of them, whoever don't get in, whoever don't win the SEC championship. If Alabama and Georgia both finish the year with 1 loss, I think they both get in. I'll be honest. Winston Burke, thoughts on USC job? I think my gut feeling is that James Franklin ends up getting that job, Winston, but I could be wrong. K-Dog says he's not coming to Georgia. You don't think Arch Manning's going to Georgia? Ole Miss is a good option for Arch. UGA will waste Arch. Well, if UGA's got that other kid coming in, I don't know that they would really – do they really need to recruit 2 5-star quarterbacks? Cincy, another SEC team, another Big Ten team. The Pac-12 and ACC are pretty much out of the picture. I agree. I mean, Oregon could potentially get in, but I don't think Oregon's going to win out anyway. Oregon doesn't look that good to me, to be honest. They're just in a crappy conference. The fact Clemson SEC is bad in Cincy's favor, I agree, because Wake Forest is really their only hope right now, and I don't see them getting in. Their schedule is not really that tough. That's what I was thinking, Kevin. They got so many QBs now. And if he does, some of those other guys will transfer out probably. If Alabama gets second loss, they better not get in. I don't think they will. And if they do, you're right, it's going to piss a lot of people off. If OU screws up, somehow really makes. I don't think OU gets in if they don't go undefeated. Franklin isn't leaving Penn State. He may not, but there's rumors out there that he's not happy there. I don't know where they're coming from, but I have heard that. Don't know why he's not happy, but who knows. 2023, yeah, because there's if they've got a good kid coming in next year from the 2022 class, and some young guys on the roster already, I mean, there's just not room for everybody. Somebody's got to ride the pine. Huffer Belly Paul says make Cincy a lock if OU screws up. Yep, that's kind of the sentiment. The sentiment is if Oklahoma does go undefeated, it's probably not good for Cincinnati. Less chance of them getting in. They need they need the ACC. If the ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12, if none of them get anybody in, then that's definitely opening the door for Cincy, making their path easier. That's what I think. Because I think we got a good shot. I think the SEC has a good shot at getting the teams in. To be honest, and I'm not happy about that, but it's just the way it is. Thanks, Bulldog. I appreciate that. I was supposed to do it before I went live, and I forgot to do it. Correct, man. We had Georgia last year. It came down to 3rd and 2 and threw the ball. Man, to man, we had them. Man, oh man, we had them. Yeah, Crip Keeper's talking about Cincinnati in the bowl game, almost beating Georgia. That's what I say. I think they can. I think they can compete with big dogs. Franklin's from Pennsylvania. Well, that probably does mean a lot if he has family there. JT and Stetson need to leave, and Beck transfers. And Brock Vandergraaf starts, and Gunnar Stockton after him unless he beats out Brock. Man, y'all got a lot of quarterbacks. Jeez. SEC and Big Ten, the big boy conferences. I agree. Totally agree, Huffer Billy. I got to give credit where credit's due. Both those conferences. I mean, you look at which Iowa doesn't look as good now, but I mean, they still only got the one loss. And you got Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State. And hey, Purdue's looking better now. It's a good conference, man. Of course, the SEC's good, like they always are. With Ole Miss being better now, Kentucky. It's really good for the conference. And he's coaching at the flagship university in Pennsylvania and winning there. And it's not like he's underpaid. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. You don't ever know what goes on inside the behind closed doors at these universities and these programs. If there's ever any type of friction between administration and the coach, that's one thing I wonder about Jimbo. How does he get along with the new athletic director? Because he's not the one who hired him. The one who hired him is actually the one at LSU now. So, I mean, that's the reason Coach Rodriguez left West Virginia is he didn't see eye to eye with the administration at the time. And I've heard that's why Jimbo left Florida State. Same reason. They didn't want to pay his assistant coaches. Big Ten about to have to play each other soon. Yeah, K-Dog, it's going to be a fun couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks in the Big Ten. They're all going to beat up on each other, I think. Knock each other out of the playoffs. Knocking off Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma State's defense is really good, and I think their running game is very underrated. That Warren kid can ball, and he's not talked about enough, in my opinion. The one for Oklahoma State, Jalen Warren, running back. And then Iowa State's actually starting to look better. Iowa State always starts the season off slow. They did that again this year, but they're starting to come around and starting to win. And I'll be honest, people aren't talking about Baylor enough, in my opinion. Baylor's good. Baylor's a good football team. Coming from me, an SEC homer, Big Ten as a whole looks like the best conference so far. JC, I think they're 1A and 1B. I personally put the SEC ahead of them just because I think the SEC is better top to bottom. But if you look at the top half of the conference, yes, Big Ten's better. But once you get past the top 5, I mean, you got Rutgers, Maryland. Those teams are not very good. The SEC, everybody's pretty decent except for Vanderbilt. When you think about it. And Mississippi State's not very good. But other than those two, I mean, Arkansas is good. Florida's decent. LSU's decent. Pepper Billy says, Kevin Hager says, I think Gunnar might beat out Brock for the starting job at UGA, but it would be a tight race for position. Pepper Billy says, I can't believe ACC didn't make overtures towards Penn State since Big Ten stomped on Penn State after Joe Pa controversy. Oh, yeah. I got you. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to money, and it comes down to the university presidents look at a lot of things besides football. I mean, us fans, we look at football, but they look at academics, they look at culture, they look at anything and everything. They look at the culture of the other teams in the conference. I think he's getting $6 million a year. Uh, I know that's a lot. Uh, I think these rumors can get Franklin like 8 a year. Could be. That's what I was saying earlier, Ray. And I think a lot of these agents are going to use this for leverage for their coach, for their clients. From my understanding, Orgeron's getting about $9 million a year, between $8 and $9 million a year. ACC should have been looked at Texas A&M since A&M hates Texas so much. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise because A&M didn't really. I don't think A&M really wanted Texas to come to the SEC, but I guess they ended up voting for it. But I don't think in the beginning. I don't think they really were thrilled about it. Vandy's only good. They do have a good baseball program. Vandy does. Very true. And they're extremely intelligent people. I mean, they're very big academic school. Any school that gets a call from the Big Ten will jump at the chance. I think that's pretty much the truth, other than maybe the SEC. The SEC and Big Ten are definitely the two top dogs conference wise. And any team from the other conferences would go there in a heartbeat. Add one of those two in WU, and voila, you have a nice conference. Ed. Absolutely, man. For Billy, it sounds great to me, man. I'd love for. I'm okay with the schools the Big 12 have added, but I'd love for West Virginia to get an ACC just because of the rivalries and stuff that exist there with that for us. I agree. SEC cares mainly about football. That's probably true. It's the Big Ten, Pac-12, and these other conferences that look at other stuff more seriously. Big Ten membership is worth way more than money. The benefits would make any school jump at the chance. Yes, that's Lord Raiden. You hit on something there. I was actually listening to a podcast today. I'm actually going to do a video on this, so I don't want to give it away too much. But there's a consultant out there who actually ran some data on conference fits, cultures, that type of thing, and why some schools won't leave their conference for other conferences, and it's not about money, man. There's a lot more to it than money. It goes way deeper than that. I actually live in West Virginia, Creek Creeper, born and raised in West Virginia. Lived there my whole life, man. I bleed gold and blue, and have since I was a kid. Lord Raiden, if an SEC school get a call from the Big Ten, they are there. I don't know about that now. They might be. It probably depends on who the school is, to be honest. Right now, Vanderbilt probably. Whatever. I don't know the academics of the SEC schools much, but I think they the ones that would be a good fit academically and culturally, yes. I think they might potentially leave. And it may come down to that one of these days. We can see some shakeups. Yeah, Gold and Blue does want West Virginia. I want them there. I mean, like I said, I'm content if they have to stay in the Big 12. I don't like the travel. I just don't like the travel. They're at a huge disadvantage when it comes to travel in the Olympic sports primarily because, like basketball, for example, football don't make a difference because you only play once a week and it's on a weekend usually. I mean, for example, when West Virginia has to play basketball in Kansas on a Monday night at 9 o'clock, they don't get back to Morgantown till 4 or 5 the following morning. Then they have class at 8. I mean, how is that fair for those kids, for those guys? I mean, I don't necessarily feel sorry for them, but they have to do that 9 times a year. Their opponents only do it once a year. So I think it puts them in a disadvantage. I really do. Missouri, Vanderbilt, Florida, A&M, I think those are about it that the Big Ten would take. In fact, I'm shocked Missouri. You know what? I think you're onto something there, Lord Raiden. You're correct. It's the AD. It's the ADs don't really have a lot to do with it. It's the boards and the presidents, and they look at a lot more than just sports. Matter of fact, in most conferences, some of the conference sports is the last thing they look at. They look at, like you said, the academics, the culture. one thing about the Pac-12 actually takes really seriously is they want schools near a major airport. Um, that's why they took Utah and Colorado. Utah and Colorado were both near major airports. They want their professors and people. Apparently, they have professors who work at multiple schools or something. I don't understand the whole dynamic of that, but and they don't want they want their professors to be able to fly easily and stuff. So there's a lot to it, more than us fans realize. Thanks, Fishing Football. Appreciate you dropping in, man. What happened to your Gators, man? They're starting to look like my Mountaineers. Lord Raiden says, I think the Big Ten will end up with Kansas and Missouri to the west and UNCUVA and Florida to the east, and they'd want to get to 18. I could see that happening. And then that would open up a spot for West Virginia and the ACC. Fishing Football says, man, I don't want to talk about it. I hear you, buddy. I know the feeling. If SEC gets 4 more big football programs to join, then it becomes a super sports conference. Big Ten football programs will have to think twice about where things are headed. Yeah, SEC may eventually try to become a super conference, man. I remember living in West Virginia. Everybody loves the Mountaineers and Steelers. I had to leave. Bearcats and Bengals. I hear you. Nothing wrong with that. Florida versus Mountaineers in a bowl game. That'd be cool. I could live with that. The toilet bowl. Oh man, we're just bad. There's no way around it. It's gonna be a bad season. Sprites aren't what makes the Big Ten run. Sports, they will drop sports before leaving. You're probably right. Florida will be 4-4 in a couple weeks. Yep, probably right, K Dog. I think UNC and Virginia would come as a pair. That makes sense. And I think those are two of the schools that didn't want West Virginia and ACC last go around. Now, Golden Blue Dude says that West Virginia actually had a chance to get in the ACC at the last minute. I had not heard that. I heard that the ACC didn't want West Virginia, but if he's got a source like he claims he does, then he could be onto something there. I don't know about all that, but yeah, we bad. You talking about the toilet bowl, I guess. Fishing, yeah, it's West Virginia is definitely bad. We're worse than you guys. If we played Florida right now, you guys would thump us probably. Y'all just have more talent than we do right now. West Virginia's not very. We just don't have. I mean, we have some talented guys. Don't get me wrong, but we don't have enough of them. We have very little. We have some positions where we only go one deep, really. Defensive backfield for one. Losing Tyke Smith killed us. I didn't think it would hurt us as bad as it did, but it's hurt us bad. We lost Drayshawn Miller to Auburn. He transferred to Auburn. Ford Rain says, I have the L in my pocket already, K-Dog. Yeah. SEC would like to see Big Ten drop sports. No kidding. That's why after the Texas A announcement came, the rumor OSU, Michigan, Penn State were going to the SEC were laughable to everyone who knows how colleges work, not worshiping sports. Yeah, it could probably was. Looking back on it, now that I know more, I mean, at the time, we none of us knew any better. Right? And I guess we all live in a little bubble sometimes, sports bubble. Yes, Fishing, and our DB coach, who, by the way, was a player that played at West Virginia, man. That's what hurts so bad. I mean, the guy played there. You think that'd been his dream job? Which I'm head coach. I'm sure it's probably his dream job or D coordinator. Which he was co-D coordinator at West Virginia, man. I don't know why he left. I never understood it. We got Smith. He's already out for the season. That's what I heard. Now y'all can keep him now. I'll take him next year though when he's healthy, because he's a good player, man. Keeper Bills. If you blink, the Bills score, man. I got one good team I root for this year. I think them losing to Pittsburgh first game of the season just pissed them off, and now they're taking it out on everybody else. They will keep sports, but sports aren't what makes the place go. No, Red, you're right. They have a lot. You're right there. We got Smith and yeah. Tyke Smith, man, I don't know what happened there. I think he just don't gel with her. See, he was recruited by the former staff, and I think he just don't gel with the new staff or something because he barely played in our bowl game last year. Barely saw the field. So I don't know what happened there. Apologize again for the background noise, folks. I'm at a hotel near the highway. I'm a Titans fan. Oh man. Oh, there it's a close game though, Fishing. It's a 3-point game. Titans are good too. And my boy David Long plays for him at linebacker. Fellow is a West Virginia guy. Everyone got caught up. I live in the middle of Big Ten country, so I'm in the middle of it all. Yeah, it's Border Aiden. It's definitely. I mean, we all live in our bubble, man. I mean, it's like I bought into that report that the Pac-12 invited Houston was close to inviting Houston and TCU, and apparently that turned out not to be true too. So, you know, I'm guilty. Big Ten does rank up there. That's why you have to be AAU accredited before they'll take you. That's why a lot of West Virginia fans are like, let's go to the Big Ten. We have no chance of getting the Big Ten unless we get AAU accredited because it's a requirement there, and they won't make exceptions either. Yeah, I'm traveling for work, K-Dog. I agree, Lord Ray. Big Ten is very strong academically. That's always been one of West Virginia's downfalls. I say downfalls. I mean, West Virginia has to accept. West Virginia accepts almost any student from the state of West Virginia that wants to come there. They have very low requirements when it comes to that. But that's part of who they are. They're a land grant university, and they're trying to get as many kids, West Virginia kids, educated as possible. So there again, it ain't all about sports. It hurts us when it's at times when it comes to conference talk and all that stuff. But I think at the end of the day, man, I think West Virginia. I think Dr. Gee has done a good enough job there improving the academics that we'll always have a seat at the table somewhere. Yep. You're right, Lord Ray. And that's why I've always, I think Vanderbilt would actually be a better fit in the Big Ten than they are in the SEC. I mean, I know the Tennessee connection there makes them an SEC geographically, but from an academics perspective, honestly, I think West Virginia would be a great fit culturally for the SEC. We're a little bit out of the way geographically, but not that bad. I mean, we're not that far from North Carolina, from South Tennessee, Kentucky. But culturally, West Virginia, I think, would be a good fit for the SEC. Geographically, for the ACC. Yep. You're right. Large enrollment numbers at the Big Ten. Fishing football, probably ACC. I agree. I think we will end up in the ACC eventually. I got a feeling. I think there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. That they can't announce because of all the potential legal ramifications and buyouts and all that crap. Imagine West Virginia taking Pitt and Cincinnati and Louisville were in the same conference. Wow, that's a good time right there. We could call it the old Big East. You're right, man. That's why I'd love to see us go to the ACC. I mean, obviously Cincinnati's not part of it, wouldn't be part of it, but the rest of it, the other ones would. But it'd be cool if Cincinnati went with us as a pair. Kick Missouri and Vandy out of SEC, it wouldn't hurt my feelings any, even though they're easy wins. I hear you. Yeah, Missouri just was never a fit, in my opinion, in the SEC. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. They actually got in over West Virginia. West Virginia was real close to getting in the SEC from everything I've read and heard. And they ended up picking Missouri over us because of the Kansas City market. And St. Louis, obviously. I'm not in from West Virginia, but I assume they don't have all the other smaller state schools around. So Morgantown gets everyone. We have Marshall in Huntington, but it's a Conference USA school. Uh, but other than that, other than that, all the other schools in the state are Division II schools or smaller. So you're correct, Lord Reed. That's why our fan base is so passionate, man. We have no pro sports teams in the area. I mean, in the state. Um, so our Mountaineer football and basketball is what we live for every year, man. Illinois alone, where I am, you two different SAU schools, not just campus schools, LU. I got you. Yeah. West Virginia has a lot of colleges, but like I said, they're all smaller. Louisville State, Concord, Bluefield State, Fairmont State, Alderson Broadus, uh, West Virginia Wesleyan, West Virginia State, WVU Tech, which is actually a branch of WVU, so I don't know that really counts. But University of Charleston, like I said, Marshall. We have a lot of colleges in the state, but they're all small. National College Football Playoffs teams don't get more credit for academic credentials. Either you are a good football program or you're not. SEC is playing to win. AAU be damned. Exactly, Huffer Billy. That's the name of it for them, man. For the SEC, that's the name of the game, brother. But the Big Ten, the Big Ten, and Pac-12 just have a different mindset, I believe. See you, K Dog. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate the support. Lord Raiden, I think Missouri is going to end up in the Big Ten. That makes more sense to me. Pair them with Kansas. I agree with that, Lord Raiden. That would make sense. Absolutely, it would make sense. And Kansas's AD's made no, or president one, I can't remember which one it was, made no secret that they're not happy with this new Big 12. So I'm sure he would hop to the Big Ten in a heartbeat if he had a chance. If SEC tip scales and OSU, PSU, Michigan feels threatened to change. Yes, I think you're right there. Use the school or conference decided to not give about academics. That's their decision. It's whatever. But these are universities first. That would be fun. FSU, Clemson, WVU to SEC. That would be really fun. Big Ten and Pac-12 take it very seriously. They do. They do. Take academics very seriously. But as fans, we don't care about that stuff, do we? All we care about is winning. Kansas AU, they are a natural fit. Yep, I think you're right. See, ACC used to use the academic argument too, and then they let Louisville in, who's not that much higher than West Virginia on the academic scales. So I think that argument went out the window once they let Louisville in. There you go, Hofer Billy. Pack and Big and join Ivy League. Yes. There's a little bit of, I don't know what the word is. I don't think anybody's leaving the Big Ten either, Lord Ray. I really don't. I think those schools are there to stay, and that alliance they formed. I think a lot of us laughed at that alliance, but I think there's actually something to that. I think they will take it seriously, and I think they're not going to poach teams from either, at least not now. And obviously, they're going to be playing each other. Big Ten and Pac-12 are going to have. I think their plan is to have one game on the schedule every week between, a Big Ten team and a Pac-12 team. The presidents and boards make decisions, and these are schools first. are to. I'm not. I don't know, Lord Raiden. I know Wake Forest. I know Wake Forest doesn't have really. They're not overly. I know they're kind of. They are a private school, and they have pretty high standards as far as getting in. Because I know some people that wanted to go to Wake Forest and either didn't qualify or didn't think they'd qualify, so they didn't go. But and they did really well in school. So take that for what it's worth. The snootiness of the academia over athletics will result in the new semi-pro league being where the natty-worthy teams play each year. However, Billy, I think that might be where we're going. Other than the fact, I mean, maybe, but I mean, Ohio State, Penn State, and they're. I mean, if you call the Big Ten snooty, which I've been guilty of doing, I mean, Ohio State plays pretty good for football, man. So it's hard to. I don't know. It's hard to lump them in there with them. I mean, obviously Michigan's been a historic program. Penn State has too. So I don't know, man. I think there's ways you can do both. I mean, those schools have obviously. Yeah, you're probably right. There's a little bit of jealousy there. I mean, I'm a Big 12 guy, so I was a little skeptical about it. But from what I've heard, they actually done it to benefit the Big 12, honestly, because they wanted the Big 12 to stay alive and stay viable. Times are changing. They definitely are. The last was ACC and Pac-12 coming with Big Ten saying, please don't take our name programs. That could be partially right. I think it was more maybe the Pac-12, not the ACC necessarily, or the Big 12, maybe. Not wanting Kansas to get yanked away. But for Billy says NFL talent will pick the semi-pro division. If it comes to that, you're right. And I honestly think that might be where the SEC is moving toward like a 40-team league or something major like that. Lord Raiden, that's me, man. I'm guilty of that. I've said it, but it is what it is. Uh, I can't fault them for doing what they're doing. I mean, at the end of the day, their number one priority, I guess, is educating people. So that's what they got to do, right? So I haven't. I mean, I've called them snooty before too, but uh, that's as a fan speaking. But looking at it from a wider lens and not looking, just looking at the big picture, I understand what you're talking about, and you're right. I mean, you're both right. Everybody, you're right too. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes. And the schools who want to focus on academics more are all probably going to stick together, and the ones who don't are going to stick together. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Well, you know what I noticed, Tougher Billy, is the fact when they made that alliance, the ACC presidents didn't speak during the press, well, at least that I know of. Now, maybe they did, but they didn't come out and say they weren't going to expand. The Pac-12 is the only one who done that. So, does that to me that silence speaks volumes? Take that for what it's worth. I hate it, but I think you're right, However, Billy. It's worth. I mean, there's just too much money, man. I mean, you're talking about $60, $70 million a year per school. Now the Pac-12 for the Pac-12 and Big Ten, that may not mean that much because they have a lot more donors and more money coming in. What happened? What do you mean? What happened, Crypt Creeper? What are you talking about? Did I lose y'all or something? Yeah, I don't know. As a fans, Lord Raiden, I think we have a right to be a little jealous or a little aggravated as a fan. Now, maybe not as the schools themselves probably shouldn't, but fans, I mean, we have a right to be a little jealous or a little perturbed if we want to be. I mean, uh, you know, especially somebody that's a West Virginia fan. I mean, we get looked down on a lot for a lot of things, man. So maybe I'm a little jealous at times because I feel like we get crapped on a lot. But some of that's self-inflicted, but not all of it. OSU and Penn State won't be in the mix. You don't think Oklahoma? You talking about Ohio State? I assume. What do you mean won't be in the mix? You talking about as far as conference expansion goes? Since when's Pac-12 been relevant in football or not? But they're relevant from an. I think what Lord Ray's saying is they're relevant from an academic standpoint, and they probably will be relevant in football again once if USC starts winning again. Then I think that'll change everybody's opinion of them, mine included, because I don't have a high opinion of them right now on the field. Pac-12 is relatively landlocked on teams. Who else can they get? Personally, I think they need Hawaii. Not a bad. That wouldn't be a bad option, Lord Raiden. That would make some sense. If the Pac-12 gets anybody, honestly, I think it'll be TCU or Houston. I think there's been a lot of rumors that they want in that Central Time Zone, and I think those two schools are pretty. I think they fit academically, maybe, and culturally a little bit. Football wise, they're not relevant right now, Huffer Billy, and haven't been really since 2009 or whenever it was that USC played for the national title. I mean, Oregon's been there a couple times, but outside of them, they really haven't been relevant. That's why I say I think they need US. The Pac-12 needs USC to be good again. Really, that's their big brand. Lord Raiden, I think everybody's he's talking about football here, and I think is what he's focusing on. When have they be relevant in football? Is his point. You're both right. You're looking at two different things though. One of he's looking at football only, the other one's looking at everything. Pac-12 doesn't care. I don't not to the extent some of the other conferences do. For Billy, I don't think. Hey, the idea of violence. I don't know enough to speak on that. Maybe that's right. But they can't. I mean, it brings in so much money. They can't just stop playing. I don't think anybody's saying the world runs on it, Lord Raiden. We're just fans, man. We love it. But you're right. We do have a tendency to live in a bubble. I'm guilty of that. Hey, if I was in the Pac-12, I'd love that Hawaii. You get to go to Hawaii every year. Dang right. Sign me up. College football does run the conferences. In some conferences, I don't think that's true for all conferences. For Billy, I think the Big Ten and Pac-12, to some extent, are running off of donor money. To be honest, they get hundreds of millions of dollars in money in donations every year from the wealthy elites. In the South, you're right. In the South, it's the truth, and even Big 12 country to a degree. I don't think they've gotten a Pac-12 invite yet, Lord Raiden. Mac Engel seems to think they were close to getting it, but I don't know that that's true. I don't think he put a report out a few weeks ago saying they were close to getting one, but now there's been some people saying from the Pac-12 saying that's not true. But some seem to think that they would get the invite if the Pac-12 does ever decide to expand because of they won in Texas, and they want that Dallas-Fort Worth market. For Billy, you're right. I think you're right. A lot of these schools run on football. Football's the gatekeeper for a lot of these schools, man. It's what gets that's their brand. That's how they promote their brand is through football. But I think some of the more elite schools, elite academic schools like the UCLA's, the Stanfords, I don't think they need football. They don't need it. I mean, obviously they want it, but I don't think they need it. What's up, Jay Outlaw? What's up, JPC? Eddie Ogre lost his job because of continuation of sexual misconduct, not losses. I agree with that 100%. 100% agree with that. You don't remove a coach 2 years from winning a national title just for not winning. No team gets more kudos for playoffs due to academics. It wasn't what I'm saying. Expand your thought process. There's a big country out there. Lord Ray and Huffer Billy, you guys are both right. You're just looking at two different things. What? Let me try to end this debate here between Lord Ray and Huffer Billy. Huffer Billy, there are schools out there who football is their primary source, probably of income, and definitely the number one source of promoting their brand. But there are schools like some of the Pac-12 and even some of the Big Ten schools, and heck, you might even throw Vanderbilt into the conversation and some other schools from other conferences who don't need football because they have such high academic standards. They have other things going on. They got all these. UCLA and USC have all these elite, famous, rich people donating hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They could survive without football. That's why they're not going to jump conferences just to make a couple $10, $20 million more a year. They don't need to. $10 million years to them is nothing. To WVU, it's a lot. To UCLA and Stanford, it ain't, because it's a whole different culture, man. The culture out there and the culture in the Southeast is totally different. Vision, and that could be and Huffer Billy, that could be what happens, man. You could be looking at the Big Ten, Pac-12, some of the ACC schools, the ones that are what I'll call the elitist schools, versus, and I don't mean that in a not bad way. That's just, I don't know what other word to use, versus most of the SEC and the Big 12, and some of the ACC. That could be what it comes down to, man. Berkeley and UVA. Yep. Kaylani, thanks for joining us, by the way, Kaylani. I think that's kind of what we're talking about. Some schools don't need football. They have it, but they don't need it. David Valentine, the Pac-12 as ACC versus Big 12 is the battle for the third best conference in NCAA football-wise. Yes, you're correct. I agree with that. Right now, personally, I would put the Big 12 there. Top to bottom, I think the Big 12 is better now this season. Can't say that every year. But, I mean, the ACC's down this year. Pac-12 has been down for several years now. Big 12 is not doing great, but I think you got Baylor ranked now, Oklahoma State undefeated, Oklahoma undefeated, Texas is still Texas, but Iowa State's winning. Baylor, so I think I would put the Big 12 number 3 right now. Matter of fact, I did a video on that if you guys want to go check it out. Let's see what for Billy. I'm not a purist on academic idealism. Academic standards are fine, but it won't matter if they want to make the playoffs. Recruiting will go with serious football programs. Outlaw, college football does ultimately run everything in college athletics, even at basketball schools like Kentucky and Duke. Their football stadiums hold more than their basketball stadiums. You're right, the JPC, but I think they're Outlaw. But I think what Lord Ray's point is that football is not as important at most of the Pac-12 and Big Ten schools. It's basically just there because they can and they want to, but they focus more on academics and other things. Football is just kind of a bonus, whereas the SEC, Big 12, parts of the ACC, football is king. I mean, that's how I would summarize it. Lord Redden, you tell me if I'm wrong. In the big picture of life, it doesn't matter, Lord Redden, but in the big picture of football, and to us fans, it does. You got to realize, man, we're looking at this from a fan's perspective. That's the only hobby I got is sports, man. That's all I mean, it's not my life. I mean, I got a family, a job, all that, but as far as hobbies goes, that's all I got. So, I mean, it's a big deal to us. It ain't our life. That's why we get so pissed off when our teams lose. Notice my post academia participation trophy. Good point. Nighttime. Thanks for joining us. Pac-12 care less about football than the other conferences. Its status for them, they are more about academics and research. Yes. Nighttime. Thank you. That's what I've kind of. That's what I've been trying to say. I don't know if I've said it as clearly as you did. That's perfect. Perfectly said. They get hundreds of millions a year in donations. 14 playoffs, and if you play the new big boy football, you have a better shot than if you try to stay traditionalist. It is just where it is going. I agree, and I personally want to see 12 teams if they can make it work. Sorry, this bad Myrtle Beach, South Carolina internet is so bad. Oh, no worries, buddy. Buffalo's up 23-17 now, by the way, for whoever's keeping score. Football is what matters in college football, not academics. As a fan, I totally agree, Billy, but as I think Lord Ray's point is, as an institution, it's not always the case. At least that's the way I summarize it. Yes, nighttime, you're correct. Uh, Outlaw, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they pretty much. I think they have the academic standards and scores to back up what they say. To be honest, we can call it snobby, which I have, elitist, which I have, um, but I think they do have better academics for the most part. Not always, but for the most part. I mean, it doesn't mean that there's not. I mean, heck, WVU's had more Rhodes Scholars than any other institution, but our overall academic standards are still lower than most other schools. It's just the way it is. It's not a bad thing. It's just the way our university was set up. It is what it is. Kaylani, do you think the Big Ten and Pac-12 will prevent an expanded playoff to protect the Rose Bowl? It's a good point, Kaylani. I don't think so. I think eventually they won't. Here's what I think's holding up. There are the group of 5 schools want conference champions to get automatic bids. The SEC and Notre Dame does not want that, is what I'm hearing. The SEC and Notre Dame are wanting. They do not want conference champions, and obviously we know why. Notre Dame ain't in the conference, so that would they would be harder for them to get in if all these other conferences get members. I mean, get their champs in, and then the SEC wants to have as many teams in as possible. So those two are the loud voices in the room trying to stop. It ain't that they don't want a 12-team playoff, but they don't want automatic bids. They just want you to take the 12 best teams and go play. That's how they want it. They don't want they don't want American. They don't want Conference USA. All those people having a seat at the table. Basically, is the way I understand it. The Big Ten schools are AAU, where they get billions of dollars. Absolutely. That's why football doesn't matter as much to them. Not that it don't matter, but it doesn't matter as much. Yeah, all degrees are valuable, though, Lord Right now, I would say. Now, if you put a USC degree up against a WVU degree, would a USC degree mean more? Probably. I don't know. But they're very successful people that come from all universities and colleges. My favorite mountaineer of all time. Great question. Because he's more in my era, I will say Pat White. I don't know. Yeah, probably Pat White. Major Harris might be a little more popular in the older generation, but for me, it'd be Pat White. Once ACC goes to super conference status, they will dictate the playoffs, period. You're probably right, unfortunately, for Billy. They're hiding behind it. Their academics are better because they fix grades. Don't let them fool you. They are owned as is. On the field, they probably are outlaw. I can't argue with that. But it's almost that way now, Huffer Billy. Honestly, Notre Dame wins. Still winning some to an extent. USC and UCLA is not as good as they used to be. But that's a good point. All these academic schools starting to fall behind in football. That's a great point. Great point. I hadn't thought about it that way. Is that part of the reason that they're falling behind? Nighttime, perfect. And the Pac-12 does the same thing. That's why they don't necessarily want just any school in their conference. Good point. The NCAA is dead. Yeah, it's pretty much on life support at this point in time. Yep. That's what it boils down to, Lord Ray. They're getting so much money from other things, they don't really need sports. Big Ten is the biggest obstacle to having any playoff, and they stopped the semifinals from being played on campus or in regions. First proposal had one semi and unanimous in Big Ten. Yeah, I think there is a big holdup about the Rose Bowl. They're wanting to keep the tradition. That's one reason I get so pissed off at the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Man, they worry more about tradition than they do what's better for the sport. Who gives a flip if a team that ain't in the Big Ten or Pac-12 playing the Rose Bowl? Nobody cares but the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. That's the point. Rejected. What are you talking about rejected, Kehlani? What did I miss? You're right, Lord Raiden. I agree. That's why I say if you put two side by side, the more prestigious school is probably going to win out most of the time. Everything else being equal. How about Crib Keeper is a good one. Pittsnogle was my basketball. Me too. Me too, Crib Keeper, man. I love Kevin Pittsnogle, dude. He's actually teaching school in Martinsburg, West Virginia now, where he's from. Believe it or not, he kind of stays out of the public eye. He don't like being in the public eye at all. And I think he coaches some basketball there. Few people really think the Pac-12 and Big Ten don't care more about football than academics. You are fooled up, opinions, Lordy boy. No need for name calling, guys. Come on now. And Notre Dame is decent, but not elite in football any longer. You're right. They're not. I wouldn't consider them elite either. Football money isn't even a discussion. Billions versus. You're correct, Lord Raiden. And I learned that today, listening to some podcasts. LSU was going to have a big decision to make. It was the second part of my post. The Big Ten rejected the first. Oh, okay. Rejected the first playoff proposal. Oh, I got you. Yeah, because they want everything. Yep. I see what you're saying now. Made sense. LSU's going to have a big decision to make. Oh, man, did Tennessee just score? LSU wants to be in the mix with Bama. Well, as of right now, they are. But for Billy, I think your point is if they go, if the SEC goes to these super conferences or whatever, and the academic schools start getting left behind. Also Ohio State though, so far they've been able to have the best of both worlds. Be anxious to see if they can continue that. I can't wait to see Notre Dame versus BYU Holy Bowl. That'll be, that'll be cool, David. I'm looking forward to that one myself. Three big stadiums in North America are Big Ten stadiums, and those three are top 5 in the world. Good point. Freaking Derrick Henry, man. Good God. That dude's unstoppable. They won't be if they get on board with the Super Conference. Which teams and games are watched by fans the most? I bet that would be the SEC, pretty much. I just say to school they aren't leaving the Big Ten Academic Alliance to go play football somewhere. That's not how serious research universities work. You're probably right, but I think Huffer Billy's point is there's going to come a time when they have to make that decision. And you're saying that they would pick the academics, and he's saying that they wouldn't. Outlaw, go to Pac-12 County and watch a game. They don't care about football, my man. Prestige, yes. A lot of actors and businessmen and women go there. Those donations are high. They get pulled from that. And that's why you don't see their stadiums full, because they just don't. There's so many other things out there that they care about more. If in the next 20 years, you can only win one football national championship or 2 NCAA men's, oh gosh. I would say one football, Kaylani. For me, I'd rather win a football national. I'd like to win both, don't get me wrong, but I prefer a football one if I had to pick. But too, that's a good question. I'm not saying it is right. It's just really reality coming. Yep, I think you're right, Billy. I really do. Well, listen, guys, we're up on an hour and a half. This has been a long one. I really appreciate the dialogue. It's been awesome. This has been fun. I'm gonna try to do more of these over time as my channel grows. Eventually, I'll get to the point where I can have people call in. But I appreciate everybody's dialogue and giving their opinions and being open and honest, and nobody getting belligerent or butthurt or whatever. Yeah, you're welcome, everybody. You're welcome, Kaylani. I hope I said your name right too, by the way. If I didn't, I apologize. Well, listen, everybody. Good night. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate everybody's support. Couldn't do it without you.